Call of Duty has a soloing problem, or really a lack thereof. I wanted to originally make a video about how excited I am for the new content and how much COD has on offer this year, but right now I can't really enjoy about half of the modes, since you can't play them solo. Let me explain. We'll start with DMZ. I know it's in beta, so a solo mode may be added later, but there's no official word on that yet. And honestly, this feature should have been there at launch. You might be thinking, well, you can play DMZ in trios. Yes, that's true, but right now playing with randoms almost always goes wrong. No one really knows much about DMZ yet, so most people are running around like a chicken with their head cut off, and a lot of them don't use mics. Even if they have some idea of what to do, trying to coordinate with randoms without talking is impossible. Most people ping a stronghold as soon as they spawn like some sort of giga chad that knows what they're doing, and run up to it not knowing you need a key, and then when they can't get in, they just run around aimlessly. Imagine trying to get people to do a contract, buy the keycard from a buy station if it has one, then go to the stronghold, then extract with just pinging. It would be a nightmare. And I could use LFGs, but I shouldn't have to party up and get on the mic every time I want to play something. I may just want to complete a contract or two and then extract because I popped a double XP. Or maybe you're like me and have a kid or something, and you don't know when exactly they're going to wake up and don't want to inconvenience your party when you're trying to put an infant back to sleep or have to leave the game altogether. Honestly, I shouldn't have to give reasons as to why a game should have the ability to, I don't know, let you play by yourself. But hey, it's 2022. And someone in the comments section will come down there and be like, well, I do it like this, or that doesn't affect me, so L plus ratio. Anyway, and simply not filling your squad isn't a valid option either. You're purposely putting yourself at a disadvantage because every other player's squad will have 2 other people in it. The game is balanced around the idea that you can get revived by a teammate, even from a dead state. So without teammates, one wrong RPG and you're done. This is made even more frustrating due to how cracked the enemies are. Some enemies can kill you so fast, it's literally impossible to react. And those same enemies usually have layers of body armor that can take full magazines or more just to put them down. I don't want the game to be easier, but so many of my sessions have ended 20 some minutes in because one guy I didn't even see killed me as fast as I could blink, and there was nothing I could do about it. In a mode where you can lose everything, it goes from challenging to aggravating real quick, making me want to avoid the mode entirely. It's one thing if I lose all my stuff because I was fighting a mini boss or I wasn't paying attention, and another thing to feel like it's totally out of your hands whether you win or lose. As we saw with operations in Modern Warfare 2019, Infinity Ward loves to take the way too many enemies that also nearly instantly kill you approach to their AI modes, which is exactly what made people avoid 2019 Spec-Ops in the first place, where some pro players and YouTubers couldn't even finish the first few operations because of the sheer amount of enemies and the damage that they did. Now, as I mentioned, this is bad enough with a well-communicating party that can revive each other, but nearly impossible solo. There's been so many times I did everything right just for it all to come to an end in a fraction of a second from a cheap enemy. So how exactly could IW or Raven make a solo mode that worked for DMZ? The first and really the most important thing would be to give every player a free self-revive in solos. Just like Zombies has done for years, if you play solo, you get a quick or self-revive. The same could be done in DMZ. We can still pick up more in our backpack and whatnot later on, but this just makes sure we don't lose everything simply because we don't have someone else on our team, giving us a small amount of breathing room. And oh, hopefully the game would know the difference between this self-revive and the one you can get out in the world, so people aren't freely getting self-revives they can take into the team versions of DMZ as well. You could also make it so we get a small amount of immunity in this state, or at the very least the AI stop targeting us for a little bit, so they don't instant kill you because they kept shooting while you tried to revive yourself, making it kind of pointless. The amount of enemies should also be adjusted compared to trios and etc. The same way, again, Zombies and so many other modes would adjust enemy count depending on how many players there are. There should be less enemies per area, so it's less likely you get unfairly beamed in the back or fight a group of enemies made to take on a trio of players, making the fight last way too long. I also really think the damage some enemies do needs to be adjusted, even in the standard trios mode. The fact that some enemies kill you in what feels like a fraction of a second feels quite literally unfair and a bit pointless at times. As I mentioned, it's like there's nothing you can do. And especially in solo, even with a self-revive, these enemies make DMZ aggravating to play. Some enemies could do a lot of damage, but they should pause more in their fire, or maybe they'll just do less damage overall, though they can't kill you instantly. And if they do a lot of damage, either make it so they don't have armor that can take full magazines, and if they do, make it so that there aren't a lot in one area. Even when you're doing well, fights against enemies feel like they drag on. It just doesn't stop, to the point that it takes away from the experience. With the time limit and everything else included, I find it hard to make it to one mission sometimes, let alone complete it and possibly do another with enough time to reasonably extract. These changes would go a long way to making DMZ playable as a solo player. But DMZ isn't the only place these issues show up. Let's quickly move over to Spec-Ops. Spec-Ops for the most part works fine. A lot of the missions aren't too bad, even if you party with a random, and some are obviously made for 2 people, which is totally okay. But trying to play the more intricate missions, the ones that should be the most fun because they provide different gameplay experiences compared to what we usually do, are almost completely ruined by randoms and matchmaking. Trying to do a stealth mission, for example, nearly always begins, not ends, begins with us immediately getting found out because my teammate went in guns blazing. Which sure, is an option, but obviously stealth is the better one, because once you're found out, it's a series of head glitching a door while enemies run through it for about 5 minutes, which I can do that in so many of the other game modes in Call of Duty. So why would I want to do that again here? Why can't I just start the mission by myself? Again, with some adjusted enemy numbers and stuff. And you don't even have to do a quick revive for this one. Maybe just a checkpoint system or something like that. Or hell, you don't even need to do that, because Spec-Ops is a different beast from DMZ anyway. A solo mode would allow me to play stealthily if I want to, or go in loud, or whatever else I want to do, without being at the mercy of whether or not I'm getting a teammate that's 8 years old, or doesn't even realize this is a stealth mission, or both. Look, call me old-fashioned, but I think a product I paid $70 for, and the little side mode that came with it, should have the ability to play by yourself of all things. Is that really too much to ask for? Especially as I get older and life changes, I don't get how people find these times to constantly party up with their friends. I got things to do, a family to be with. The friends I do have their own schedules. I play on my own time when I've got a few minutes here and there. And if I do have a few hours to spare, I may not want to spend it, playing DMZ or something. So why isn't there a mode for me to be able to hop in and have my own fun? Isn't that what all this variety and all this different stuff is supposed to be about? To choose how I want to play Call of Duty? Or is it really just about getting my $70 by any means? Anyways, sorry to leave it on such a negative note. I'm just really frustrated as I was really looking forward to playing both of these modes. How do you feel about the current state of DMZ? And are you faring any better in solo than I am? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, a like or subscribing to the channel would be greatly appreciated. As always, I'm Parker Fox, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.